Welcome in. This is Gun Talk Nation. Today's Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Pyramyd Air, Savage Arms, and Walther. So today, we're just going to jump right into it. We've got Tom Gresham in the studio with us. Welcome back.
Hey, good to be here. Just drove 3,100 miles from Idaho to here. Took the long way around. Fun road trip, though.
The scenic route.
Yep, stop in, every time I went by a gun store, I went, pull in there.
Yeah, you had some experiences along the way with that.
Yep, they got nothing. Yep, they got nothing. Yeah, they got... Okay.
Nothing's in stock. Yeah.
Actually, some of them had a lot of guns, but nobody had much ammo.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what we're hearing from everybody.
Yeah, that was the Cliff Notes.
So as we record this, we're recording this on Tuesday, March 23rd, and this will post on Wednesday, March 24th. So as you hear it, this is a day after we recorded it, and or whatever.
Well, that's important because we're talking about news today, breaking news.
Correct. So the reason we bring that up is because this is one day after there was a shooting at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, and guy goes in there and I think they said 10 people are dead as we know things right now.
Yeah, as of now, 10 people are dead, including a police officer.
Yep.
They do have the suspect in custody. They have released his name.
His
supposedly used an AR-15. We don't know that for sure yet.
It's tough when you're trying to figure out the details because, one, this is all being sorted out between media and police officers and all this stuff. But also, it's tough because the media is reporting on things they don't know anything about.
Really? I'm shocked.
Right. So they will go, he used an assault rifle weapon or whatever. And you're going, what? And why does that matter? Why does it matter what he used?
It was a military-style booming blaster.
Right. Yeah. But why does it matter?
It matters because it fits in the narrative. If you want to ban, well, first of all, if you want to ban all guns, you can't do that. So you have to pick a section of them, and they have. The gun ban lobby, the gun ban industry has decided this time that semi-auto is what they want to go for. Historically, and I've been following this a long time, they have targeted small guns, call them Saturday Night Special. They've targeted big guns, call them sniper rifles. Basically any gun they don't like, if they could just carve out a niche. And so they've said now their niche is semi-automatic. So when they get a chance, they will leap on the opportunity and say, see, we told you we need to ban all those things. They
do say the man now identified as the shooter is Ahmad al-Alawi Alyssa.
Okay. Funniest, not funny, but kind of. I saw a tweet from Everytown for Gun Safety.
Gun Control Group.
Gun Ban Group. Bloomberg-funded gun ban group. And they say, here are the names of the victims, but do not speak the name of the shooter because we don't want to glorify the shooter. I'm thinking, well, generally I'm okay with let's not glorify the shooter, but I just got to wonder if the guy's name was Bubba Smith, would they be going for that? But because this guy has a Middle Eastern sounding name, and the chances are, my opinion, that we're going to find out this is a self-radicalized terrorist.
Right.
And that's going to destroy their narrative. They're saying, don't speak the guy's name because that's going to hurt our gun ban effort. Right. That's what's really going on there. So you got to look at it, you go, okay, I get a chuckle out of it, but at the same time, it's so utterly callous and dishonest that you have to share that information with everybody you can.
Dishonest. Also, for what it's worth, Colorado has magazine capacity limits.
Correct.
Also, Boulder has stricter regulations than Colorado, the state.
And just this last week, Boulder had passed an assault weapon ban. So whatever assault weapons are, but semi-automatic ban.
AR-15 ban.
AR-15 ban.
AK ban.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Except that last week the court said, no, you can't do that. No, they ruled it unconstitutional because Colorado, thankfully, has a preemption law, which says that cities cannot pass their own gun control law. Only the state can. And so what you're going to see is lots of wailing and gnashing of teeth and all of that stuff about, well, see, if we had this, this guy would have just suddenly said, I guess I can't go murder people because they've made these guns illegal now.
Right. And a lot of times when you actually do look at the facts, and the problem is a lot of times not all the facts come out because, as you kind of just stated a little while ago, it doesn't match whatever narrative they're trying to go for. a lot of times when you look at the facts, actually anything that they would like to have passed wouldn't have stopped it. Even
Always.
I mean, besides the fact that a guy who wants to murder dozens of people doesn't generally care. I mean, he's already breaking a law that will send him, to prison for life if he survives this thing.
Right.
Or they're not caring about surviving it.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, if you have a high capacity magazine, that could be up to a $10,000 fine.
Like he cares.
Who gives a crap?
He's planning on getting killed anyway.
Right.
There really is no deterrent, although there is. I want to back up for a second, because just before we started this, we were talking, I think there's something we ought to talk about for a sec. And that is, when we gun people are talking about things like this, we have to acknowledge the tragedy of it. Yet we tend to go straight to the whole gun issue and all that.
I'm guilty of it. I am.
We are. We're being so beat on that we simply react. But we have to admit, and acknowledge that 10 people just got murdered. There are 10 families that are devastated and will be forever. Every member of that family for the rest of their lives will be damaged severely. So we're talking about hundreds of people who've been hurt by this. It's a horrendous thing. Having acknowledged that, then you say, okay, and we all want to say, I wish there was some way we could stop this. I wish there was some way we could prevent this. How can we possibly do that? And I've looked at this for decades. I've never found honestly, I've studied it. I've never found a gun control law in the U.S. We've tried everything, including confiscation. I've never found one that's ever reduced crime, ever. No gun control law has ever reduced crime. So if that doesn't work, then what else? The problem is, this is the easy one. This is the easy one for politicians to stand up and say, hey, we did something. Look at me, I did something. As opposed to doing something about the economy, doing something about race relations, doing something about mental illness, which is a really hard thing to tackle. Those are big. Those are hard. They probably would have some impact. You're never going to get to zero on murder. Never have, even when they were doing it with swords.
No, I mean, and that whole expectation of safety, which I think in our community, we talk about or maybe more aware of, but it's been a big topic of conversation for the past year with COVID.
Oh yeah, when they say stay safe.
Stay safe. Well, be safe.
You can't actually be totally safe.
We're only going to open up until we can definitely have total safety. Well, that didn't exist. That didn't exist 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 10 years ago.
What we do with our training, with all our awareness, with all the choice of guns, everything else, is a form of risk management. We try to avoid places where we could get hurt. We try to be aware of our surroundings. We try to go through life in the yellow zone, using Colonel Cooper's color code. We get firearms. We keep them in our home. We keep them in our cars. We keep them on our person. We get training and all that. And doing all of that, we still understand there's no guarantee that you're not going to get hurt or killed out there. All you can do is manage the risk as best you can. And one of my frustrations, and I think you would echo this, is dealing with people who somehow have convinced themselves that there is something we can do that can make us all safe.
Right.
You want to start off with, okay, that's childish. That's just like 4-year-olds know better than that.
Well, I was just having a conversation, or it was a text exchange with a friend of mine a couple days back. And he was saying that he's gotten into guns and shooting and concealed carry. Mm-hmm. And he said he noticed that his son, who's, I don't know, he's 8 years old, something like that.
Okay.
Started asking him about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, he was texting me going, this is interesting because he's curious about it. And I've talked to him.
Okay.
But we kind of got into this conversation of, what do I do? What do you do? And I said, well, I think some people don't want to let their kids know there are bad guys out there. And I'm of the opinion that my kids know that bad guys exist. And you know what? It's funny. People think, oh, well, I'm going to tell them about this, and my kids will be curled up in a fetal position, scared of everything. No, they're not actually. They can rise to the occasion and be aware of it, but also not be scared every day.
They're not deathly afraid of cars, and they know that they're dangerous.
Right.
You teach them how to handle, how to mitigate that risk.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about when you're saying, and the question is, okay, what do I tell my kids?
Right.
Well, just as we wear seatbelts in our cars to help make us safe, daddy or mommy has decided to get a firearm. It's an adult thing, and this is one more thing to help keep us safe. And when you get to be a certain age, you will be allowed to shoot as well. But until then, you can't do this and you can't touch these. And we go through that whole gun storage and everything else. But maybe equating it to, this is a safety device that I have that will always be there, and I will be there to help take care of you. It makes it a very positive thing without frightening them.
Well, and I guess I bring that up to go back to the expectation of safety and understanding that there simply are bad people. There always have been, and there always will be bad people.
And the problem is, most people don't know how bad people can be. It's one of the things that I often will ask police officers when they're on the radio show with me. And it's like they all kind of stop and go, yeah, the general public has no idea the depths of the depravity, how willing people are to hurt you, to steal from you, to hurt you, to rape you, to kill you. And it's every day. Mm-hmm. And the police deal with that all the time. So they're aware of that. But because we don't, and frankly, it's a defensive mechanism. Don't you think? We'd say, well, if I actually buy into that and think about that, that could probably scare me. I don't really want to go there.
It's a lot to deal with.
I don't want to go there
every
in my
day.
head.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that it's a balance. I think you have to acknowledge that it's out there, but maybe you give maybe the thing that makes you feel better about it is you're not just sitting around being scared, that you're taking actions to be better. And maybe that's concealed carry. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's other things.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. But just being better informed, better aware. Awareness is such a big deal. Mindset is such a big deal. Honestly, bigger than carrying a gun.
It is.
Way bigger.
Yeah.
Most times you can avoid situations and be safer without having to bring a gun into a situation.
I mean, case in point, how many people get in their car, pull out their phone and start texting or doing something in their car while they're sitting there in the parking lot? Okay, great. Did you lock your car doors when you got in the car?
Right.
No. Well, you are like the easiest target in the world.
Well, expanding on that, as people still do it, they think having a phone in their hand while they're walking to their car in their parking lot makes them safer. Well, so I got a phone in case something happens.
Right.
I'll dial 911 as the person is beating me or raping me or whatever the heck is going on here. I mean, I do not understand that at all. To me, it's the exact opposite. Put your phone in your pocket and have your hands free, have your head up, looking around.
You know what I'd like to do? When somebody says that, I say, oh, really? Show me how that works. Show me exactly how that works. I mean, what would you do? I pull the phone. I would like to take a Nerf bat and just wail on them. I mean, just beat the dog do out of them with the Nerf bat and say, they're going to be here in 5 minutes. Don't worry. And just keep wailing on them. I mean, just beat them. Say, how's your phone working out for you now? Unless it's a 9mm double stack, I'm not impressed.
Grab the phone, rip the phone from their hand and throw it across the parking lot.
Yes.
And tell them to go fetch. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
The phone. I got a phone. Okay. Cool.
It's
you can go live. You can post about it.
Actually, your shoes are more important than that. Do you have shoes that you can run in?
Yeah.
I mean, really, do you have shoes that you can escape, evade, that kind of a thing? So going back to your point, it's mindset. And then the mindset doesn't always, but the mindset can move you into a different lifestyle where you simply are more aware of what's going on around you and you make choices based on safety and risk management. We're not going to go through that part of town. We're going to drive around here. Well, that's going to be another 5 minutes. Yep. Don't care. Just you start making these decisions. And if you do it right, it's like Clint Smith told us at Thunder Ranch. He said, look, he says, if you come back to me in 40 years and you've taken all this training, you say, but Clint, I never had to pull my gun out of my holster. He says, and I'm going to tell you that's perfect.
Sure.
That is perfect. You were exercising judgment and, management and risk management and everything else. You did it right. Or was it Steve Tarani talks about if you go to guns, you failed.
Right.
He uses the Titanic.
I'll be honest. And when I hear, occasionally you'll hear about, I guess it's usually a police officer. When I hear about a police officer that's been in 4 or 5 shootings,
mm-hmm.
my personal thought is, man, how's that possible? That seems high. Now, maybe he's just been at the wrong place at the wrong time, or the right place at the wrong time, or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of times.
A lot of times.
Possible.
You're a police officer, you are likely to get into it. And I'm not picking on the police officer, but
yeah, and some of them are more inclined to move to problem areas to try to help out.
Sure,
okay,
sure.
I get that.
It does make me kind of raise one eyebrow and go, really?
It's like when Sheriff
Jim
Wilson says, if you find yourself often in need of high-capacity magazines, you might want to consider a change in lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I've had a house fire 5 times. Really? I'm feeling like this is some weird pattern.
We might want to have a talk about something else going on here.
Falling asleep while, smoking cigarettes or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We're a little bit all over the place with this. Hey, Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by several great companies. First one, Pyramyd Air. Pyramyd Air, air guns, that type of thing. But what I'm looking at right now are all of the air pistols, and they've got revolvers. They have single action like the Colt Peacemaker. They've got Beretta PX4 CO2 pistols. They've got Umarex Legends, blowback, all kinds of different things. Walthers, Berettas, Colt Defender, a Makarov BB pistol, even a Smith & Wesson M&P BB pistol. So check them out at pyramydair.com. Also, Walther, the new PDP. It's your duty to build the best performance firearm. Well, their duty. It's your duty to be ready. So what's cool about the PDP is it is absolutely a shooter's gun to me. Has a great grip, great trigger, but it's actually they have a full size and then they have a compact. For being somewhat full size, even both of them are, they're not that heavy, and also very friendly controls on it. Big mag release button. They have an ambi slide release, kind of, I'd call it a paddle, really. It's elongated, really easy to hit it with your thumb and run that slide, and just a kind of a fun gun to shoot. We've been shooting it a bit lately and enjoying it. Also, you can actually swap the slides on the compact and full-size frames to kind of make it what you want it to be. Also, Savage Arms. Savage Arms, the new impulse rifle. This is a straight pull rifle. So the bolt goes straight backwards, straight forwards, very fast to run. You've got the Hog Hunter version in 6.5 Creedmoor, 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 308. You got the big game version with some camo patterns, 243 Win, 6.5 Creed, 300 Win Mag, Springfield, 30-06 Springfield, 300 Win Mag, 308, and the Predator version, which I think this would be really cool. 22 250, 243, also 6.5 and 308. So check them out at savagearms.com. We appreciate their support. I wanted to read you this. So we are less than 24 hours after this thing in Colorado in Boulder.
Right.
And lots of headlines, lots of information coming out. But here's one for you. Biden urges Senate to immediately pass House bills on gun reform. This is from CNN, so the way they write this, gun reform obviously is a slanted deal.
Sure.
President Biden said he would do everything in his power to keep Americans safe. I didn't know he could do that. Following the latest mass shooting in Colorado, and pushed the Senate to immediately pass 2 House-passed gun reforms, including universal background checks and an assault weapons ban.
So they want to ban the most popular guns in America, guns that literally, I want people to understand this. This is a fact you need to understand and share. more people every year are murdered with fists and feet than they are with rifles. And AR-15s are simply a subset, smaller group of rifles. So more people are killed with fists and feet than they are with these, okay? You talk about news coverage. Here's from Fox today, all right? Talk about not getting it or slanting the news. They were talking about Chris Chang was just testifying for Congress this morning. Watch now. Senate holds hearing on potential new gun control measures reducing violence. No, gun control does not reduce violence. Never has.
No. Actually, violence doesn't need a gun. You're going to reduce violence?
Good point. Yes.
Violence can be like fist and feet.
Fist and feet. More people killed with that than with AR-15s. So Biden has jumped on this. Obviously, all the politicians have. The gun control groups have hit the go button and unleashed their marketing package.
Yep.
That's basically where they dance in the blood of people who've just been murdered as a way of advancing their agenda.
Yep.
It's what they do. And no one at any point, even Fox, no one else is asking, okay, if you're going to measure how guns are misused, what's the other side of that to how guns are used to save lives?
Yeah.
More than 1 million times a year, according to pretty much all the data. Some studies say as many as 3 million times a year. So we've got this side where guns are used to commit crime and harm people. And on the other side, by a factor of 10 or 100x, guns are used to save people. Yeah. Stephen Williford using his AR-15 to stop that shooting in Texas. No one wants to talk about that. It's just guns equal crime, and they keep beating that until the public just goes, yeah, guns equal crime. We got to do something about that.
I would love to be able to have a conversation. It won't happen, but to have a conversation with someone who wants this. And just, if it was possible in some make-believe world, to just have a conversation with a grown-up about this and say, tell me how that would have helped this particular situation. Well, let's see, assault weapons and I want to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. How would that have helped? Because you already have that in Colorado and you already have that in Boulder.
So he broke the law to kill people, to murder people. He broke the law to have the magazines he had, more than likely.
Right.
There are any number of laws he broke. What makes you think that passing one more law would have made him suddenly stop?
And I'm making assumptions here. Again, we don't have all the information, but if this guy was a radicalized terrorist,
right?
What they're saying is we're going to pass laws
that will stop terrorism,
that will stop these radicalized terrorists from terrorizing.
And then I lateral over to Nice, France a few years ago, where the terrorists used a great big box truck and murdered more than 80 people driving at 60 miles an hour through crowds of people.
Right.
You don't need a gun to commit mass murder. I mean, you just don't. Oh, here's what you find. And I've had these conversations with these folks, and they want more gun control, or they want gun bans, they want this and want that. And you say, well, explain to me how that works. And the reaction you get is, I hate you gun nuts. It's the first thing they do. It's a defensive mechanism when they realize their position sucks.
Right.
And so now we're not going to talk about my position or what I'm talking about anymore. We're going to talk about what an evil, subhuman person you are, put you on the defensive. And if you buy into that, all of a sudden you're talking about you, and I'm not that person. It's the same as McCarthyism with, where you're a communist. It's the same with the modern phrase of, well, you're just a racist. And all of a sudden you're not talking about the issue anymore. All you can talk about is, I'm not a racist. And then they start saying, well, you crazy gun nuts. You don't care if children die.
Right.
And now all of a sudden if you take the bait, you're talking about, well, of course we care, yada, 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 yada. And now you've given them back the leverage. And you just go, I'm sorry. Did you not understand the question? Can you explain to me how the law that you are proposing would have stopped this particular crime?
Right.
Because you're telling us that we need to pass this law because of this crime.
Right.
And, well, you crazy gun nuts. That's what you always get.
Yeah. Why do you have to have this gun or that gun?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about that.
Nope, it's not. And he said, well, what should we do about the woman? Because what they're saying, one of these bills, this HR 1446, they're taking the waiting period from 3 days to 10 days, but it's not really going to 10 days. It's going to infinite.
Right.
Because it is infinitely expandable and renewable every 10 days. So if the government doesn't come back and tell the gun store you can release the gun, then it gets lateraled for another 10 days and another 10 days. Conceivably, and believe me, they're smart enough to know this, they'll say, well, we just won't respond to any of them.
Well, that's been my thing for years is, so we have all agreed to the idea that we need to check with the government first before being allowed.
We have to ask
finger
permission.
quotes.
Yes.
To buy a gun.
Yeah. The government doesn't allow us to do anything.
Right.
The government actually doesn't have the power to allow anything.
Right.
The government has the power to prohibit things.
So what's to keep, I mean, this is where we're going.
Yep.
What's to keep them from going, sorry.
We're just not going to approve any transfers.
Yeah.
The FBI section that checks on that.
Budget cuts.
We're just bogged down right now.
We're bogged down.
We're going to get back to you. Don't know when.
Yeah.
Never happens. So no guns get transferred.
Yeah.
No guns.
It's the ghosting of gun rights.
It is. Well,
is anyone getting these emails? Hello?
Yeah. Which takes me to, okay, so what do we do about that? You have to fight it right now. Every person who's hearing this needs to be calling their senators. I don't care if you live in California. I don't care where you are. You need to call your senator's office and say, I want you to oppose H.R. 8 and I want you to oppose H.R. 1446. I don't want you to vote for any gun control measures because they simply have never reduced crime anywhere. And the thing is, all we need is 2 or 3 of these senators to hold steady, and we can defeat this. But the other thing we got to do, and, I liken the legislative battle to the people are coming over the wall. We got to stop that now. But if we want to keep them from actually trying to get over the wall, then we're going to have to get some really strong Supreme Court decisions. Because if the Supreme Court comes in, and I think they very well may, because we have the right cases headed that way, if they come in and say, I'm sorry, it is unconstitutional for you to ban these guns, period. All the state assault weapon bans go away. All the efforts to ban semi-automatic guns go away. But in order for that to happen, this is where then how do we make this happen? We, all of us, have to help the teams that are doing that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They don't magically go away.
No.
You have to file lawsuits in every single.
We have to file a lot of lawsuits.
State.
And yes, and that's expensive. And so that leads us to the Second Amendment Foundation, which I support strongly. They're in the lead. And there's another group called the Firearms Policy Coalition.
Yep.
And they're doing really good work. Used to be the NRA was in there. Unfortunately, they're sidelined for the moment.
They're preoccupied.
That's a different issue. We'll talk about that another time.
State groups too.
Oh, absolutely. State groups are vitally important because things are happening in the states, some good things, some bad things. We got a lot of states now that are passing constitutional carry.
It's an interesting thing. You have certain states or you're going, wow, there's progress being made for gun rights here. And then you look over here and you go, oh man, it's a horrible battleground they're having to deal with over there.
Stuff that's going on in Oregon and Washington State is horrible. What's going on there? And then you got, Texas and Missouri and Utah, and they're trying to pass constitutional carry in Louisiana. And it's usually a multi-year fight, but it is your state organization that is working on that. Mm-hmm. And so if you would like to see those things happen, both good bills passed and bad bills defeated, state groups don't have any money.
No.
I mean, if you can kick in $25 or $100, and if you can get 10 of your buddies to kick in $100 each, you actually just made a really big impression on your state group and allowing them to have lobbyists go up there on lobby day, that kind of thing.
You're not spending it on ammo right now.
There's that.
There's none of that to be had.
Sure. I mean, besides, if you had $100, what would you get? Like 4 rounds of 9 or something now?
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah. Depends on what the trade rate is on the euro or something like
if
that.
If you're one of the people who went out and bought a lot of ammo in the first place, see, you can go sell a box of ammo and you could fund a lot of this effort.
Yes. So, okay. So that kind of, we're getting there. So marching orders for the listeners here. And also maybe some talking points as they're having conversations with people.
Okay. Immediate action item for everybody. It's like this week, call your senators. It's really easy to find out who your senators are. You go to the internet.
Do you think, I have a question. Do you think it matters whether you call or whether you email?
I think you should do both.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, it's an extra 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Literally.
Because they do have some systems in place. Firearms Policy Coalition, Second Amendment Foundation. A lot of those guys have these cool, who are my senators? Right. Click here.
NSSF has the same thing too.
Yeah.
National Strategic Sports
Makes it easy.
And when you call, here's how it works. You're never going to speak to the senator. Don't expect that. It's foolish to think that. You're going to get a legislative aide, and you can just say, can I speak to the aide who handles gun control?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just be upfront about it. No point being coy. And you'll get somebody and say, I am Joe Blow. I live in Covington, Ohio, and I would like to ask the senator to vote against the gun control measures out there because I don't think they do anything to reduce crime.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
This is what I want you to do. Maybe one sentence explanation of why.
Yep. And they're going to put a check mark somewhere, and they've got a ledger. And if all they're hearing is from Everytown and the gun control groups, Moms Demand Action, and those people are active, they're out there doing it, then they're going to say, yeah, the public really wants this.
Right.
All that we have to do to lose is to sit on our butts. Just say, well, I thought you were going to do it. I love this one. Well, where was the NRA? I'm sorry. No, where were you?
Right.
I would hope everybody understands that the NRA is on the sidelines right now. If all you're getting as far as your information about the NRA is from their mailings, from Wayne LaPierre asking you for money, you need to educate yourself because it's a freaking mess over there right now.
And the real truth is your senators and your congressmen, congresspersons, congresswomen, congressfolk, depending on where your state is and depending on the representative, they're probably, I would have to say, there's the ones who are on our side on guns. Mm-hmm. They're ones who, when you call, you can say it, but they're not going to be changing their vote.
No.
If Nancy Pelosi is your rep, yeah, but still call.
Yep.
Let them know. And then you've got the ones that are maybe persuadable. Maybe there are the ones who look at the list and say, what do my constituents want?
Right. Maybe there's a dozen.
Right.
Okay. But a dozen's big. If
it makes all the difference.
Right now, the Senate is 50-50.
Yeah.
With Kamala Harris casting the tie vote. All we need is a couple of those senators.
Yeah.
Well, we need two things. We need either Democrats to move over. We also need to hold some of the Republicans who are saying this seems like a reasonable compromise. Compromise, remember, means that they take away some of your rights and we get nothing.
And you never get them back.
And we never get them back. Good point.
It's done.
It's a one-way deal. And their idea of compromise is they don't get to take all the guns now. They're willing to wait a while, but they're going to take some of them now. They're going to take some of your gun rights now. We get nothing out of it. It's just like, okay, well, what do I get out of the deal? Well, you get to keep some of your guns. I'm sorry.
Right.
That doesn't sound like a good deal to me.
Just keep slicing the cake and taking away pieces.
Sure. And, so anyway, that's the media action item is to call senators. And then beyond that is to get in the fight long term. By that, I mean making the commitment to be there all the time, every month. And maybe you say, look, I'm going to kick in $20 a month to Second Amendment Foundation or something. You joined, actually got a life membership in SAF, and it's not expensive at all.
No, it's not expensive.
It's like, what, 150?
I think it was $150.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Which is, if you think about all the money you spend on shooting and hunting and gear, you know what? You can cough up $150.
Open your gun safe, look in there and say, how much would you pay me to be able to keep that stuff?
Right.
Okay. Would you pay $150? Would you pay $20 a month? Which is still, so that's what, 4 Starbucks?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there probably will be more coming out about this particular incident, and certainly more from the powers that be who want to take your rights away from you.
Yeah, by the time you're hearing this, you will know more about this Boulder shooting than we know as we're talking about it, because there'll be a 24-hour delay before this comes out.
So get out there, do something, get involved.
You cannot sit on your butt like, well, but I expected them to do that, but this, but that. No, you can't do that. You know, I always say you're either on the front line or you're on the sideline, and you get to decide which it is. We can't afford to have gun owners on the sidelines anymore.
We need your help. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.